Well, how are you doing today? It is Thursday, and today is the Spark episode 75. And today we're going to be covering something that's core. You know, Marissa challenged me on our drive back from North Carolina. She challenged me to actually start putting down some additional tools that we think might be able to help you, Spark citizens, actually understand a little bit more of the Spark journey. So I'm excited today because I'm actually going to be covering a framework that it's been kicking around in my head for a long time. It is a freedom framework of State of the Spark on achieving goals, but maintaining a sense of being sparked. Here, let me tag a few people. Boom, Dory, boom. Just tagging a few people there. So today we're actually going to cover a few things, but before any of that, I have a cup of sick gratitude on why my glutes and my booty are so stinking sore. And then we're going to cover some other news. And did you know there is a robotic Banksy going around the world? And for all we know, it's been Banksy all along. Is it AI? Is it really Banksy? Who knows? But we're going to cover that today. But we're first going to start with a morning cup of gratitude together. Let's do this thing. Ba-da-da. So, for this morning's cup of gratitude, I want to say that I am so painfully grateful that Marissa put together my own North Carolina hero's journey. So, I am not the best sport once I hit my limit. So Marissa put together 3 separate hikes while we were in North Carolina. And the first hike was like a nice little hike with a few little views, and we went for a drive. Actually, it was 4 hikes. And this was a hero's journey for me because like Gimli, I'm very good over short distances. But Marissa put these hikes together that slowly built up, and I was very intimidated from the beginning on the last hike. The last hike was on paper a 10-mile hike, and it had 3,000 feet of elevation gain, and that was very challenging in my mind. So as we built up, I got sketchier and sketchier, and as I hit my physiological limit on like the second hike, I just get drained and I just can't go. And I think I'm on a treadmill and I just get absolutely drained and I start dragging my arms and they slump and I can't even handle it. Well, Marissa actually had a good paradigm shift for me between the 3rd and 4th hike, or the middle and last hikes. And that was, this is all a head game. And we were on the drive to this big hike, and we were winding through these gorgeous leaves on our way to this big hike. And we just got into a conversation of what is it about Spark Explorer and what are you bringing people and how are you helping them achieve more here? And it was a big challenge where it's like, hey, this is a hero's journey for people. I put these trips together for people to build up. And though it seems very challenging, it's all about the head game. And so I put myself in a headspace for this last hike, and it was gorgeous. It was a stunning hike. If Marissa and I get a chance, I'll post a link to this last hike. But you got to prep for bear. You got to bring food, bring snacks. There's a lodge you can actually end up on, which is phenomenal. It's a gorgeous lodge, and the view, you can just see all of the Appalachian Mountains, and it's gorgeous to see. Absolutely stunning. But I got to tell you, it was challenging, and it ended up being more like 12 miles, and my arms totally slumped. But I did discover this about myself, and that is simply when people are around and when I am there for people, I get absolutely pumped. I get absolutely energized. I can serve those people. I can help those people. I get pumped. And so my cup of gratitude this morning is to Marissa putting together my own Spark Explorer beta test hike of putting together a hero's journey. And you can expect more out of Spark Explorer, which is a critical component of State of the Spark. So what is State of the Spark? We help ignite lives of explosive significance. And Spark Explorer's component is helping you get a physical metaphor so that you can go out and do something, a challenging thing. Spark Explorer is not for easy, like day tripping. No. This is all about taking the next level. So I am grateful to be along with Marissa on this journey. I'm grateful that we're doing this thing together, and I'm grateful that she put together a North Carolina hero's journey, and I'm glad I did it. I actually was thinking about bailing on the last day. I really was. Marissa knows I was. I was ready to bail. It was just like, man, I cannot handle this. but that reframe she gave me put it over the edge. So here's to you, Marissa, love of my life. I think you're awake this morning. Here's to you actually putting me through the, here we go. I got this for you, babe. Your custom graphic, The Mountains Journey, where Marissa explored my butt. And that's not a sexual reference. She kicked my butt. She spark explored me and actually took me to the edge of what I was capable of doing. You know, David Goggins says, when you are absolutely exhausted and feel like you can't go any further, that's when you're about 40% through. And this mile was like, or this hike was like 5 miles out. And on mile 4, I was just ready to quit. So I'm just glad I finished David Goggins and I made it all the way. So Marissa took it to absolutely the next level. So yeah, Marissa absolutely spark explored my butt right there. So here we go. In other news. So in other news, here, let's do this. In other news, my art news, my art is behind me. Actually, let me go this way. So I'm super proud in general, and you don't have to be, and you don't even have to like it, but I love the art. This one right here, this piece of art was my first piece after watching a particular artist that I have a lot of respect for come through. This piece right here was my first piece, and I just went for it. It's stenciled, it's layered. I got my enso in, which is the symbol I'm exploring right now to have like talismanic properties for me. And then this one right here was a second exploration, and I'd love to actually do this some other time, about dealing with different masking and different approaches to doing masking. And then this third one, wrong way. This third one right here, I'm actually proud of how it ended up. I had this vision and I got really specific. And if you've ever heard of hypnotic writing, it's when you try to put yourself into a trance and do automatic writing. You just kind of imagine your characters and you send them running. I think as Ray Bradbury said, I write my characters and I send them running. I chase them with the typewriter. In art, I try to do the same thing where I try to go to a hypnotic state and just try to create. But this middle one actually started with like a philosophy of spark, ignite, explode, radiate. Marissa got me these awesome fluorescent colors, but it just looked too blasé. And I kept going at it. And finally I came up with an approach where we did some masking tape. You can see some of the masking tape up in here. You can kind of see how I did that masking tape, and it's got a little bit of a border. But in the end, the minute before we walked out of the house to get to North Carolina, I did the enso in it. And that just kind of sealed it for me. I was like, oh, and I did this layer of white to tone down some of the spark or the state of the spark colors. So to me, that's a spark piece, and I really love it. So that's art news. And in AI news, so is Banksy an AI or not? So AI software, there's a piece of AI software named GANKsy, and they trained this AI to understand Banksy's art style. They basically fed it something like hundreds of photos of Banksy's street art. And they fed it and trained this artificial intelligence. And finally, the artificial intelligence has been working since, and it has up to date created 266 different pieces of street art just in the software. Now, you can even purchase this art. And I think I might even get a piece here because you can purchase it for a single pound or a British pound, or just purchase it with American dollars, whatever you want, and actually get this AI created piece of art. And I think I've said for a long time that AI will be challenged to create art. It might not be as challenged as I thought it was. You be the judge. Check out the work here. I can even link to this work right here. Here, let's copy that and let's put this right here and see if that comes through. That will actually allow you. Here we go. Boom. That will allow you to check out their artwork and put it to the test. Does this pass muster? Does AI create art that could pass for human art or quality? Not all human art is quality, but can this art pass as quality? But the real creepy thing was, this was actually creepy. The group that made the AI actually said their goal was to put the AI into a robot body so that the GANKsy robot could then roam the streets of London and do street art. That sounded a little creepy to me. I don't know why. Generally, I love street art, but boom, there you go. You can read that article and be the judge yourself. Okay, last but not least, here we go. Boom. Last but not least, scientists discover, and this isn't good news. This is good science news, and I'm pumped about this. Scientists discover a new section of the Great Barrier Reef taller than the Empire State Building. Hear me on that. So this particular piece of reef is 1,640 feet tall. Imagine coming across just some coral reef and looking down, 1,640 feet tall. Who knows what the temperature is at the bottom, but they say that the base of this coral reef is actually almost a mile wide. Now, this is obviously some very positive news in light of all the coral bleaching news that has been coming out lately. I'll let you read the article here, some positive coral news. Coral helps with so many ecosystems that actually ultimately lead to a lot of sea life that actually produces most of the oxygen we breathe. And as coral bleaches, the chain of events in the ecosystem creates more and more challenges for us to actually have high producing oxygen. Of course, we have a lot of trees still, but those are going quickly. And as we destroy the oceans, it challenges a lot. But this is actually positive news where they're finding a huge coral structure that's still alive and still producing. You've got the link right there. Let's talk about the secret goal paradigm. Here we go. So check this out. There is a problem today as it comes to goal setting. And I want to tackle this problem, or at least address this problem a little bit. And this problem in goal setting is the two competing paradigms. Now, in one of these paradigms, I'm going to call the goal first approach. And the goal first approach to goal setting is people who wake up like I do, and this is very much me. And it's people who build the state of the spark. I'm pointing right here to the vision summary on the wall, and someday I'll actually post that for you. And it's the big picture. We ignite lives of explosive significance. We create the tools, the training, and the team you need to actually set and achieve goals. Why do we do that? Because I believe that as people attempt and achieve goals, not just achieve them, but attempt and achieve them, they become better people. They build up their self-esteem, and hopefully they create solutions for our world that actually make an impact in people's lives. So happiness for goal-first approach people is based on whether or not they have achieved their thing or whether or not they're muscling through. The strength of this paradigm is that when things get tough, they can return to this big picture vision and get all the positive neurochemicals going and pull themselves out of the dumps and return to grinding it out. That's the strength of the goal first approach. Now, here's the weakness. The weakness of the goal first approach is it becomes binary. You can actually put yourself more frequently in a slump because you have this binary thinking. You think so much about the goal and you think about how often you don't have that goal. And quite often, it puts you in a slump. And as that slump takes over, you could have this downward spiral that really doesn't inspire you, and you just get completely hung up. So that's the weakness. That's the strength and weakness of the goal first approach. And the happiness anchor. The happiness is anchored into whether or not you've actually achieved that goal. So let's talk about the second paradigm. And these are competing paradigms. The second paradigm is a systems-based approach. And this is where the system, the habits, and the routines are supreme. Now, if anyone knows me, my wife, she knows I like routine. She knows I like habits. And I haven't had this context to explain to her, but I've often stumbled through going, I need my habits. I need my routine. I need my morning routine. I need my afternoon routine. I need my reading routine and my studying routine and my art routine. I need my routines. Why? To achieve something. This is what's known as the systems first approach. Now, I am not a systems first person, but I do have systems to achieve things. The happiness anchor for a systems first approach person is based on whether or not they have done the daily habit. It's based on whether or not there's a system in place and that they are working the system and the system is working for them to achieve big things. Now, the strength for a systems first person is this: smaller steps that they can work towards and feel progress toward. They may get there one day. They may achieve big things, but that's not the focus. The focus is whether or not they're making small, measurable progress. Now, that's the strength, but the weakness becomes readily evident also. The weakness here is that when things get tough, really challenging, when there's a market correction or COVID fog, they're not emotionally anchored toward the big vision to pull them out of a slump. If doing the daily habits is too boring for them, they won't get pulled out of a slump. So you got these two paradigms, right? One is the goals first approach, which I gravitate towards. And then the other is the systems first approach, which Marissa gravitates towards. And I do both, and Marissa does both, but one takes priority over the other. Now, and here's something that makes it challenging is they're often pitted against each other. So like two people, like Marissa and I, often when we have disagreements, it's often because I want to pull us out of a slump or get us to take the next level from a goals first approach. And she wants us to approach the next level from a systems first approach. But here's the thing. People feel torn. They feel like they have to be one or the other, but they don't really do either well. Here is the secret goal paradigm that's missing. I call it the self-first approach. Now, this is not better. This is the secret. So hear me on this. If you're capturing this, this is giving you a third option. There's the goal first approach, which we talked about. Rewind if you didn't see it. There's the systems first approach. And then hear me on this third one that people don't often think about. And then I'm going to contextualize these for you. There's the self first approach. And this is the being of the desired self is supreme. So what I mean by being, they want to be. And this comes from, this is rarely talked about. This is a rarely talked about approach to goal setting. But when I say it, you'll catch on very quickly. Have you heard of be, do, have versus have, do, be? And like the quick synopsis of this is, you know, you see a lot of guys growing up in the hood and they see, oh, Eminem's done X, Y, and Z. And I want the benefits in life that Eminem has, the Eminem, the rapper. And so then I'm going to look at Eminem's life right now and I'm going to go do what he does. Okay, he wears his pants really low. So I'm going to start wearing my pants low. Oh, he has bling. So I'm going to go either buy or rent, which is a big thing, rent a lot of bling. So I look the part. And then I'm going to look up and wonder, why don't I have this life that Eminem has? That's the have, do, be paradigm. The trick is doing the be, do, have. And that's when you actually look at what the who that Eminem decided he was going to be. I tell the story when I met Busta Rhymes, and I heard him on a radio show, and I was at the radio station, and I heard him on a radio show being interviewed. And, you know, on the radio, he was doing, I don't know if you know Busta Rhymes, he was like the early 2000s rapper, and he's got this real voice, and he was doing his voice thing. And he came out, and someone introduced me. Like, he finished his spot on the radio, he came out, and they introduced me, said, hey, this is Busta Rhymes, and I shook his hand. And as articulate as I am right now, as articulate as you've ever heard Obama be, this man actually said, hello, I'm Busta Rhymes, how are you doing? He knew that the radio show was a persona, and the who he was being was a businessman in the moment. So when you have do be, you get it wrong because you want to just have the rewards everyone has. Instead, in the be do have paradigm, you have to be first. This is the self first or the being approach. When some people approach goal setting and goal achievement focused on being the person. Now, here's where happiness is anchored. Based on when they feel like they're being that person, when they feel like they're being the big shot. I had a great Monday the other day where I was being Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad. I worked on a Monday from like 8 a.m. to like 11 a.m. And I talked to all the principals over all of our little businesses and touched base with all of them. By 11, I was free to do my own thing. Good morning, Terry. I hope you're doing great this morning. Thanks for checking in. And so like Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, I had a morning where I touched base with all my principals. They were off to the races with vision. And now I was down to the work of building out the Spark ecosystem, Spark courses, Spark training. That was me being, and I felt really good in that moment. But the strength here is that this helps anchor oneself in a new identity instead of willpower. Willpower is often really what it takes to get a goal to go, right? You change a habit, so you change this willpower. You want to be this fit person, so you're not the type of person that orders, cookies and Dr. Pepper when they go to Chick-fil-A, but they order like the Market Fresh sandwich or a salad, right? But this is all willpower. And a being first person says their strength is you don't need willpower. When you're challenged with something that your old self would do, you imagine and spend time with your new self. And how would your new self respond? Oh, I'm going to get the salad instead of this cookie. Well, here's the weakness of the being first approach. It still takes willpower to put one in that mindset of the new person. You have to wake up in the morning and develop a whole new habit of envisioning yourself. You have to wake up in the morning and like wrestle yourself in. And so when you go to, like we do, we often fast breakfast, but some mornings my old self says, I just want a frappe. So we go to the local place and I buy a frappe instead and say, well, I'll work it off later or something like that. And that's me cheating. But the truth is I do that more often than not. It still takes willpower to do the being first approach. So that's the secret approach, and it has strengths and weaknesses. So here's what I want you to do. I want to share with you, if you will permit me, I want to share with you the spark approach. The spark approach. Here, let me actually pull this over here out of the way. I want to share with you the spark approach to a freedom framework for goal setting. So first off, I want to show you here, this right here is the systems first approach. The idea is if I have systems, one day I'll achieve them. Here, let me actually do this so you can see a little bit better. And then the next one is, here we go, the goals first approach. If I just focus on big vision, one day I'll get pumped, one day I'll get excited and I'll build the systems or I'll attract people to me and the systems will just evolve around me. I'm extraordinarily guilty of this one. I mess this one up all the time. Marissa knows this. But systems first people make this idea that, if I just build the systems, I'm going to achieve the goal. Well, what happens when you have a bad day? So both are flawed. Now, there is an idea that you put them together. This is one framework. If I have the systems that helps me achieve some goals, if I have good goals, that gives me the willpower I need to achieve systems, but it's missing the self system that I just revealed. In this approach right here, you have the systems first approach, what I call the spark first or the vision first or the goal first approach, and then you have the self first approach. And they can work in a system. And you can get on this cycle anywhere. If you're a big vision person, you can actually shape a big vision that can pump you up. You can then, whoop yourself into a state where you believe you are the person you need to become in order to achieve big things. And then you can push that energy towards building solid systems. And as you build those solid systems, it fills in the vision and you have a good little system there. This is actually what I call the Spark Freedom Framework of goal achievement. So then you move forward and actually see how these things play out. And if you notice back here, we've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs hidden in the back there. That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is kind of the hierarchy of goal needs. Now, we are often beating ourselves up with our self-image, which is why we do not have the willpower necessary to act on the systems we need. So this is how I actually put all these together. If you can build a vision that's big enough and inspiring enough, it can actually help you incrementally. That little white section there, there's the black and white. That white section there is that inspiring section that gives you just enough oomph to put your power, your willpower into creating systems. Now, if you can create systems, and notice how big these systems are, we can only achieve big things with big systems. That's a fact. And I can only get by with my goal first approach and my inspiring first approach. I can only get by with that for so long. Like if I just tried to skip the systems part, I would literally just be focusing on this big vision and it would pump me up, big vision. But my self-esteem, my self-image would slowly tell this story to itself. I'm not the type of guy to build big things. So then I would be living in delusion where I dream about big things. I've got big dream boards. I've got big goals on the wall, but then I'm starting to actually lose my self-respect. I'm not actually inspiring myself at all. The trick is, if you can have a big enough vision to give yourself a little edge, just a little edge, and then you can use that edge to do what? Not just to run around and travel around the world, but to build systems that create a life where you achieve big things. Then you can stay inspired. Then slowly over time, if you can carve out a small section of yourself that builds systems and then achieve some bigger and bigger things along the way, then your self-esteem expands. Then you are in this third secret goal paradigm called self-first. Your self-awareness, your self-identity, your self-respect actually starts to become, not just in theory, not just through willpower, you actually do become someone who believes in that level. You actually do become someone who believes, I am achieving these bigger things. And now it's not willpower, it's fact. I am a type of person who wakes up, who builds systems in order to achieve bigger things. I am not some person who has to willpower myself. I'm someone who has systems to build systems. And you actually become a person who's building a bigger business, who's building a bigger sales team, who's building a better piece of technology, who's building a bigger, you name it. What is your dream? Who's building a better physique, who's building better relationships. Building better relationships isn't just some haphazard thing. There's systems around it. Here's a system. Every single week, I have lunch with a new person and I inquire about their day, what we call the unsales system. The unsales system is a freedom framework for building out your business in sales and building up your network. This is the freedom framework right here. This is the freedom framework right here for you to have all three approaches to goal setting. The SPARK or goal first approach, the systems first approach, and the self first approach, all contextualized to achieve more. Boom. So what this leads to is, if you can focus on being the type of person who actually takes small steps forward to build better systems, you can have daily satisfaction. Because the state of the spark goal is to help you stay motivated. The goal of state of the spark is not just motivated, but motivated for what? Crappy work? No, motivated to actually give yourself a leg up and build a way out of the rat race that you're experiencing. Whether that rat race is not having the physique you want, not having the relationships you want, not doing work you love, not feeling fulfilled spiritually. If you notice, that's the TLE, the Freedom Framework for a Total Life Experience. Fitness and health, healthy, happy relationships, work we enjoy, in spirituality, being happy, being full of purpose. When you contextualize all three goal approaches, one is not right. Each one is right at a different moment of where you're at. So if you can actually focus on being the type of person who puts together systems, you can have a little bit of self-respect where you actually go, okay, I have daily satisfaction that I'm doing the right things. I'm doing the right systems. When you actually execute your daily systems, you can have a little bit daily happiness, which is exponentially more fulfilling than just satisfaction. You're going to be satisfied. I'm satisfied with who I am. I'm happy with who I am today. You have to be, in order to have the clarity and the energy to actually act not just on the big goal, but on the systems next. Then if you execute the systems, I think you could find yourself experiencing regular daily happiness. And if you have regular daily happiness, you can then look ahead and have this internal sense of peace that I'm moving towards that big thing. I woke up. I whooped myself up with whatever I needed to, whether it was focusing on the big vision, looking at the systems, or just trying to be who I need to be. I whooped myself up. I started executing the systems and experienced happiness. And then I could go to bed at night with huge ambition, filling my heart more and more because I still have the big goals to think on. I think you need all three paradigms to get through a day. I think that when I experience depression, this state of being sparked is a system. It's a cycle of its own. It's a freedom framework, if you will, on goal achievement where it doesn't have to beg and choose which of the paradigms it uses to actually achieve more. So let's just go back here. So what am I saying? I share all this to tell you that if you find yourself focusing only on the big dream and someone around you is accosting you, you're focused too much on big vision. You need to internalize that. Don't let it kill your spirit, but you need to internalize that, okay, I do have two other tools to pull from. Am I being who I need to be? Man, 2/3 of the way up this mountain in North Carolina, 2/3 of the way up, I was not the type of person who was going to finish this mountain climb. But I had to repetitively come back to the big vision. I'm going to be the type of person who's going to finish this mountain climb. So I want this end goal. I want to have this mountain under my belt. That's the big goal. Then I came around and said, well, who do I need to be? This is the self approach. And who I needed to be is someone who continues, who puts one foot in front of the other, who grinds it out, who smiles on the way. I want to be this type of positive person. So I had to put myself in that state. So then what's the system? I had just enough energy to do the system. I tried to then smile, try to then to put my shoulders back, and try then to put one more foot in front of the other until I got tapped at the next level when I had to return to viewing the big vision. This is my repetitive process. Let me put it up on the side here so you can see it. This is my repetitive process of a self-first approach when it's the right moment to have a self-first approach, then a systems-based approach when you need a system, and then a vision or a goal-based approach when you need a real big, inspiring goal. These are 3 tools you can use when in the right context. When put in the right context, this is how you can sequence these to continue to have what I call the state of being sparked, the state of perpetually being sparked towards the goals in front of you. Well, that's the teaching for today. Listen, I've got to get to coffee, but I hope this has been useful to you. I'm going to actually post this graphic in the comments so that you can utilize it later. I'm going to post it in the Goals and Gratitude group. I'm going to workshop this a little bit further. But I want to make sure that you know that if someone is saying, hey, you're nothing but systems, you don't inspire me. I'm guilty of this all the time. Systems don't inspire me. They don't get me to take massive action. That's why they're systems. They're there to help you take small actions repetitively over time to build habits that help you achieve more. But to have that inspiration, I need the big goal to inspire me. That big goal inspires me. I become the type of person who can handle it. We're going to actually touch on how this actually correlates to leadership in an accelerated marketplace, where this fits in the Spark ecosystem. But I hope this has been useful to you. Listen, if you need any support at all, visit stateofthespark.com. Our blog's there to support you. Our services are there. Ask if you need help building your business, building your dream, getting coaching, getting bookkeeping, getting websites, going on trips with Spark Explore. It all starts at stateofthespark.com. If you want immediate help and have questions you need to ask, please visit us at the Spark Goals and Gratitude group. Just go to Facebook, Goals and Gratitude, type that in and join our group. Ask your question. We're going to be doing additional more and more training to help you stay sparked, stay ignited, help explode significance, and help radiate purpose. And listen, remember the mission today, igniting lives of explosive significance. But remember, please start with your own today. Thank you so much. Have an extraordinary day. And here's to you having an ignited life of explosive significance.